Okay, so I'm getting ready to get going here with my sourdough pizza, and this is my starter, which I've had sitting out since last night, and it's just now starting to get bubbly, and it should be ready pretty soon. So it's to do this, I need to let the flour and water just kind of sit for about an hour, and by then the starter should be looking really good. So I've got my bowl here, I've got my flour mill, I've got my hard white wheat berries, my hard red wheat berries, and my kamut. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix the flour and the water. For this recipe, I need 600 grams of flour, and I've got my scale right here, and I'm going to put in 200 grams of each flour, and then our each wheat berry. And then the way that this works is however many grams of berry you start with is how much flour you end up with, and it'll be less in terms of volume, but it'll be the same in terms of weight, which is why you want to go by weight and not by volume. So I'm gonna I need both my hands, and I don't have a phone setup thing, so I'm just going to take a minute here and measure out my flour, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back now. I've got my 600. It actually went to 602, but that's okay, close enough for government work. And so I'm just going to take these wheat berries and dump them in this tray, and let's see, just like that. Make sure I got them all. I'm going to put the lid on the tray. This is how easy it is to mill flour. The one thing you want to do, if you've got this kind, I don't know about other kinds, but if you don't push this tray all the way in, then flour is going to come kicking out the side there. So I've learned the hard way to double check. And so then we just turn on the mill. It's going to get loud for a second. Right here, you can watch see how the grain is falling out there? That means it's milling. So I know it's loud and annoying, but I'm leaving like this so you know exactly how long it takes and how easy it is. People think that cooking from fresh milled flour means it's all this extra work, and it's like, this is the extra work. We're almost done here. Once it's done, you'll hear the change in sound. Almost done. See how it's getting all high pitched now? All done. Whoops. Okay, so now it's done, and hang on, I'm going to pull this out, and then I'll show you what the flour looks like. So there you go. See, it's all just nice, fresh milled flour. It looks just like flour, because that's all it is flour. But it's got the whole grain. Unlike whole grain, this actually has the whole grain. So I'm gonna put this in here, and I'll be right back. So there you go. See, it's all just nice, fresh milled flour. It looks just like flour, because that's all it is flour. but it's got the whole grain. Unlike whole grain, this actually has the whole grain. So I'm gonna put this in here and I'll be right back. Actually, I'm just gonna use my little dough thing here to combine it so you can see what's happening. And you just want to combine it until you're getting all the dough wet. What you're not going to go straight into doing your dough right now. There's a fancy word, asteolosis or something, I can't remember what it is, but there's a fancy word that basically means that with fresh milled wheat especially, it soaks up water more. And so what you want to do is you want to just let it sit and just absorb the water for an hour. So it's not quite there yet. I'm going to need to use my hands. So when I'm got it ready, I'll come back on and show you what it should look like. Okay, so that's what it should look like. You'll notice that all the dry flour, there's not any dry flour in here anymore. I'm just showing you with the dough thingy. But the next thing you're going to do is you're just going to you're going to cover it up and let it sit for an hour so all the flour can absorb all the water. And then we'll come back, we'll add the starter, and I'll show you what you do next. But you'll notice there has not been any, like arduous work here. And the whole thing together I spent about 5 minutes on. Okay, I'm back. It's been just an hour and like 5 minutes. And I've got the dough, should be all hydrated by now. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the starter, which I have right here. And you can see it's got some good bubbling activity and everything going on. It's about double in size, so it should be good to go in there. And with sourdough bread or sourdough, you don't knead it the way you would knead traditional dough, but you do kind of need to work with it a little bit, and there's some techniques that are used. And the first of these is called a stretch and fold, and we're going to stretch and fold the starter into the dough. I'm going to show you how to do that. None of these techniques are actually that complicated or hard, but just the idea is to kind of work air into the dough. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to dump this whole starter into here. I think the final dough is like 27% starter. And I should have watered my hands first. Give me just a second here. It's a good idea to water your hands when you're working with sourdough because the dough gets sticky and it keeps it from sticking to your hands. So we're just going to come in and we're just going to come in around the bottom of the bowl, and we're just going to pull up the dough so that it's not sticking to the bowl. And then we're just going to do something called a stretch and fold. And what that means is we're going to take the dough and we're going to stretch it out, and then we're going to fold it over and then kind of tuck it back under, and then we'll turn the bowl 1/4 and stretch and fold, and then turn the bowl 1/4 and stretch and fold. We're just going to do this until the starters all kind of worked into the dough. It should only take shouldn't take that long. And as we're doing this, there's going to be other times where we work with the dough over the next 4 hours. So stretch and fold. And you see the starter is still, you can still see the starter still got its own identity going on. So we're just going to keep doing this until you can't really distinguish the starter from the dough anymore, and it's all just kind of one entity. But we're getting there. It's definitely starting to incorporate. And just tuck it under, turn, stretch. See, now it's barely any distinguishable starter. You can still see it a little bit, but more and more it's all just looking like one thing. And you can see this is not any great amount of work I'm doing. It's not like kneading dough. It's just like barely even working with it, which is kind of the goal, I think, is you don't want to overwork your sourdough. It's very different than working with regular dough, and working with fresh milled sourdough is even more different. Because the properties of the flour are different. We're almost done. I think maybe just one or two more. Okay. Stretch, fold. And I've got just a little bit more here. Okay, fold that over there. Okay, and I think we're almost good to go. Each time you do this, it's going to make the dough a little bit more elastic. That's the goal. Is you're kind of working out the gluten to get it nice and stretchy. And you'll see this is a lot stickier than regular dough too. But I think we're good to go here, so we're just gonna do a little bit of pre-shaping of that. And we're just gonna cover this, and we're gonna let it sit for another 30 to 45 minutes, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna do our next round of working with the dough, and it's going to go on for about 4 hours, but it'll never actually, this is probably the hardest part, is what I just did. The whole hardest part of making this crust. There's still going to be some more activity that we need to do, but that is even easier than what I've already done. So, you know, like you can see, this is not some great arduous task. Okay, so now I'm going to do something called a coil fold. It's been about 35 minutes. And I went and I got some water that I have set here. You can't really see it, but that's what's going on over on this. But it's a good idea to keep your hands wet. Okay, so you're going to just come around here again and just work your way under it to make sure that when you pull it out, you get, you know, you don't get a bunch of stuff sticking to the bowl. Okay. And all you're going to do is you're just going to pick it up, the whole dough, and you're just going to, see, this is, okay, you're just going to pick up the whole dough and you're going to let it go down like that. And then you're just going to set it down, pick it up, let it go down, pick it up. I don't know if you can see it well, but it's hanging down on the sides. I'm just going to do that about 3 or 4 times. And you'll notice that it's getting less sticky each time I do that. All right, so there, I've done that part, and we're going to come back again in about another 30-40 minutes and do that again. And eventually this will rise to about 50 to 70% of its original size. And once it's done with that, then we're ready to do our final rest. And we'll divide it up into 4 pieces and do our final rest, and then we'll make our pizza. Actually, while the dough is resting, I'm going to go ahead and get my spaghetti sauce started. And one thing a lot of people don't know that I recently learned is that if you like to use tomato paste, I had this going before, and so it's already hot. Even though I just turned it on, if I turned it off for a second to set up the camera so I wouldn't burn my oil. But what you can do is you can, you know how sometimes you open up a can of tomato paste and it's got that sort of tinny taste to it? If you just toast it a little bit before you know, or, you know, like right at the beginning when you open up the can, if you just toast it for a couple of minutes, then it'll cook out that tinny taste and it'll taste a lot better in your final project. So right now I'm just gonna quickly toast that up a little bit. That should be good, but that doesn't take a lot of time, and it does help a lot in the final product. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to change the camera and show you how I'm planning on doing my sauce today so that it's nice and easy. You'll notice I am not working hard. People think, oh, this is so much work, but it's almost none. Okay, now I have something called a cooking blender, and the nice thing about a cooking blender, or I think they're also maybe called heated blenders, some of them call it a heated blender, but what they do is they don't just blend, they also heat. So they're great for making things like sauces, because it'll stir everything up. You can just put all your ingredients in, set it to sauce, and like not worry about it. So I'm gonna use that, and I'm just gonna add 4 washed whole Roma tomatoes, or 3, because that's how many I have. As you can see, I'm not overly worried about chopping these up into little pieces. I'm not worried about skinning them or seeding them, because the cooking blender will take care of all that. Then I'm going to add that tomato sauce that I just toasted up. And then I'm going to add in just a bit of red wine and maybe a tiny bit of water. I don't want to make it too thick, because I think with spaghetti sauce, you want, you know, you should like your pizza sauce a little bit thicker than spaghetti sauce. And heck, let's go ahead and we're just going to add in a handful of sugar there, because I just got inspired to do it. Then we're going to add in some Italian seasoning. Some people like to fancy up their spaghetti sauce. If you want to do that, that's fine. Cooker's prerogative. Personally, like I lived in Italy. In Italy, they just use tomato sauce and then they add some season to it on the final pizza. I don't have any onion powder, so I'm just going to use some minced onion, and then I've got some garlic here. I am going to peel it. Maybe we'll just say 3 cloves. And if you have a garlic peeler, those are nice. I'm just gonna, I don't know if you can see this right now, so I'm gonna move that aside. Just, yeah. So you just put it in here. Ah, almost had a disaster there. All right. At least I have a nice stable phone thing. Okay. So, all right. So, whoops. So then I'll just peel up the garlic and drop the cloves in. One. And you don't have to worry about chopping this up because the blender's going to do that for me. 2. And again, you know, like this recipe is just something I'm inventing going along. It's not like there's some sort of science involved in any of this. So then I've got all of that done, and I'm going to take this over to the blender, and I'll show you how it works from there. Okay, so it's going, and it'll just, if you go here, it's got the temperature, and it'll mix, and then it'll heat, and you'll watch that go up. Well, maybe you won't, because I don't want to stand here holding this all day. But that'll go up, and then basically that's it. I'm done with, oh, there you go. See? Just mixes and heats and mixes and heats, and that's it. I've done all my work. Okay, excuse the blender noise that'll be popping up in the background. That's just my blender making my sauce. All right, so here we go. As you can see, the dough is rising, and each time I open it up, look, notice how much smoother the dough is getting as we're going through this process of just very mildly working with the dough. This next thing that I'm going to do is called laminating, I think. And I have never actually done it, but I've watched a video of it done, and it doesn't look that hard, so we'll see. First, you take some water, and you just put it on your cutting board. I've noticed with the sourdough bread, you don't ever see anybody really working with flour as to keep from sticking, and I think there's probably reasons for that. So I'm just imitating them, putting a little water on my hand. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to once again go under and pull the dough away from the bowl so that I can get it all nice and out. Okay, now once you can get it out, just, oh, come on, we're almost there. All right. Okay, once it's out on the board, you're just going to take it and you're going to stretch it until you get it all nice and stretched out and to a kind of a big old square type of situation. Okay, something like this. And so far, I have to say it's about as easy as the video made it look. All right. So once you get that done, you're gonna fold it in as though it's like a 5-point pentagon. So taking 2 corners each. And so you'll come up like this, and you'll fold that into the middle, fold that into the middle. I think it was like fold that into the middle, fold that into the middle, and then fold that in the middle. Something like that. I think I might have messed it up a little bit, but, and then you're gonna take this and you're just gonna roll it up, and you're gonna tuck this back under so that it's like a ball. And then you're just gonna drop that back in your bowl. And that was probably the most complicated step right there. So, wasn't the longest, but the most complicated, was not as hard as I was hoping. That was a joke, by the way. Okay, so we're just gonna leave this to sit for another 30 minutes, then we're gonna come back and we're gonna do one more thing before we set it to rest for the final countdown. Okay, so we're back. I actually had one more little fold thing I had to do. but my battery was dead, so I was charging my battery. But here we are now. This is, the dough is, we're done working with the dough. The next thing we want to do is we're going to pull it out, and I'm just going to drop it on the scale here. And I'm just going to weigh the whole thing. And so it's 1,200 and we'll say 1,250 grams to make it easy. So that means it's 1,250 divided by 2 would be 625. So about 310 grams, 306 grams divided by 4. So we've got 4, I messed up here. Okay, we'll fix that in a minute. We've got 4 306 gram portions. And so I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my dough knife here. I should have put some, whoops, boy, that was gross. Should have put some flour down on top of it first. Okay. And so we're just going to divide this into 4 parts with my dough knife that are roughly even. And we're just going to measure here and make sure that, okay, that one's a little bit heavy. Okay, so 317, that's close enough for government work. Okay. Really, I'm just going to grab some flour here and put that down. Make this a little bit easier. Okay. I am recording. For a second, I forgot if I was recording or not. Okay. Okay. And this one, order you, 337, so. Okay, that one looks pretty good. Okay, and now this one, that one, okay. Okay, and then this one should be pretty close. Okay, we don't need to be exact. Okay. It's all close enough. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take 3 of these. I'm just going to roll them up. Well, we're going to put all 4 into bowls. But 3 of these are going in the freezer. And the reason for that is something I'll share with you in a second. Just going to make those into nice little round balls. Don't want to overwork it. This is just regular flour. I didn't see any point in milling flour for this, but okay, so we got these 4. We're going to have 4 dough balls. 3 are going in the freezer, and I'll show you what I'm planning on doing with those. This one right here, or one of them, will be our pizza for the day. Okay, so we'll put that back in the bowl and cover it up. And I'll show you something here. I've got some, these are some freezer bags you can get. And these are, you know, like the poison-free kind. So, but the nice thing about these is they're also washable and reusable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dough ball in each of these bags and then pop it in the freezer. Right? And then I'm also going to I'm going to make ice cubes out of the leftover sauce, put those in one of these bags, a little smaller, and then put them in the same size, say in a gallon bag, along with some of the toppings. And what that'll do is, the next time I want to make a pizza, I just have to pull out, you know, a better than frozen pizza. I can just pull out something that has all the ingredients I need. The sauce is already made, the dough is already made. I just need to thaw it out in a couple of hours, and then put it together and bake it. So I'm not making one pizza right now. I'm making 4 pizzas, which makes it seem like even less work than it is. So I'm just going to pop 3 of these into their bags, and then I'll add the other stuff later. But these are each going into the freezer. The reason I put I make the tomato sauce into ice cubes first, by the way, is that way they don't stain these bags. I found out the tomato sauce stains the bags. But if I make it into ice cubes first, it doesn't do that. So anyway, just gotta seal this guy up. Seal this guy up. So this is what I mean when I say, like, if you watched my video from before, been trying to figure out how to make it so that when you don't feel like cooking, or when you don't have the energy level, or you know, whatever, you don't have the time, you can still eat a healthy meal just without any work at all, hardly. So this will end up, you know, if it's thawed, once you've got it thawed out after a couple hours, it'll take 5 minutes to stretch the dough, assemble the toppings, and pop it into the oven. It's really easy. Okay, so the last piece is going back in the bowl. And we're just going to let this sit for a couple of hours. The instructions say 1 to 3 hours. So we're just going to hopefully split down the middle. It's halftime of the game right now, so hopefully by the second game I'll be eating pizza. Because once this is done, all I have to do is stretch it out and shape it and put the toppings on and bake it. So alright, we'll come back in a bit. Okay, so I think we're about ready now. Gonna try and get this going before the game starts. So first, here is the pizza dough. And I'm gonna try and shape this. This is actually my first time doing this, so I don't want to pretend I'm an expert when I'm not. But I read about it and I watched some YouTube videos, so how hard can it be, right? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start with our dough ball, and we're just gonna work our way out like this. Gotta get my water here. Just work our way out. Okay, and we're just forming our crust. Okay, I think this is more the way it's supposed to be done. Okay. We're just forming our crust. And this is, remember, this is just like a personal pan-sized pizza. This is not a giant pizza. And while I was gone, by the way, while all that was happening, I did put my pizza stone in the oven and preheat it to 500 degrees. It's been in there. It hit 500 degrees about 20 minutes ago. So my pizza stone should be about 500 degrees by now. All right, now I'm just gonna put a little bit of cornmeal on my hands. I've got a dusting of cornmeal on the thing. And now what you're supposed to do is go like this. And that's supposed to turn. You gotta get some more cornmeal under there, I think. All right. Okay, there we go. So you turn, and you're just stretching out from the center. And I would advise, if this does not look right to you, not to try it at home, but to instead watch somebody who's done it before. But I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. It's starting to look like. Okay, so stretch and turn, stretch and turn, stretch and turn. All right. And you don't want it to tear, but you do want to thin it out. So, all right. And the thing about homemade pizza is if it's not perfectly shaped, it just looks more homemade. But we're going to try and get it more of a round shape. All right, we're getting there. Okay, now let's just try to round this out. All right, I'm just totally messing up all the correct procedures now, but it's starting to look like a pizza crust. I think the main thing is that you stretch it out and you're not supposed to be touching your crust. I've got some sides that are bigger than others, so I'm trying to, there we go. Now we're really getting somewhere. All right, and I'm sure there are people that are better at this, that have like made pizzas for a living and stuff. There's like the whole tossing it around on your hands thing, but as you can see, I probably shouldn't be attempting such things. Uh-oh, I got a hole. Okay. Let's plug it with a piece that's okay. But that's probably a sign that I should stop doing what I'm doing, and we're just going to try and round that off and shape it up. All right. I still got just okay. That's starting to look like a pretty good size, and it's pretty well stretched out. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this onto my pizza peel. But first I'm going to put some cornmeal on my pizza peel so that it slides off on the stone. And I have all my tops. Oh wait, I gotta go get one more topping. Okay. So what I was reading is, or what I was watching, rather, is, was I reading or watching? I think I was reading. All right. But what you don't want to do, what you want to do is you want to get your toppings on as quickly as possible once you put it onto your pizza peel. Uh-oh. I think, there we go. All right. So that it slides off easier. All right. So we've got something going on. All right. Hopefully it'll still come out looking like a pizza. All right. So I'm going to put on, this is the sauce. You'll notice how smooth it is after it's been through the blender. And we're just going to put on just enough. One mistake a lot of home pizza makers make at first is putting too much sauce on or too many toppings on, and then the crust gets too soggy. And then the next thing we're going to put on is our mozzarella. And what you want to know, or what you need to know about the mozzarella is that the whole pre-grated cheese for your, like the pizza blends or whatever, is really actually not good for pizza, because the shredded cheeses have a caking agent that inhibits melting, so it doesn't melt as well. And if it doesn't melt as well, it's not going to be as good. And I forgot my Parmesan. Okay. And then we're going to put on our Parmesan, at least the first part of our Parmesan. Okay. And if you hold it up further, when you sprinkle it down, it spreads more evenly. Okay, and now we'll put on our pepperoni. Okay, just lay that down. And the thing about pizza toppings, I was just posting about this on Blue Sky. I never understood why people get upset over pizza toppings on pizzas that they're not going to eat. I mean, if somebody were force feeding you, pineapple on a Hawaiian pizza, which by the way I love, then I could understand getting upset about it if you don't like it. But if you like it, it's your pizza. Eat it the way you want it. Okay? Problem solved. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, I have this. This is the sausage I made earlier. It's cooled down enough to work with. So I'm just going to sprinkle some of that on there. And, with all of these, like I said, I'm going to have a little bag that has the toppings in it. Well, other than the cheese, because cheese doesn't freeze well. But I'll have a bag that has the toppings in it. And then I've got, these are washed already, so I'm just going to put on some sliced mushrooms, because mushrooms are delicious on pizza, at least on my pizzas. If you don't like them on your pizza, then don't put them on there. All right, and there we go. Okay, and then we got one more thing, and this is, some people still like to put their mozzarella on. Now, the thing is if you put shredded mozzarella on over your toppings, and I know this is a kind of a chemistry part of it, is the mozzarella will melt and it will trap the steam. And since it traps the steam, then the pizza ends up coming out more soggy. You don't get the crispness on the pepperoni the way you'd want to, for instance. So what I've found is if you get fresh mozzarella, the little balls here, and you just sprinkle those around, then you can still get kind of some mozzarella on top to kind of blend everything together, but you don't get the stickiness. So now this guy's ready to go in the oven. I'm just going to take him. Hopefully he'll slide right off the pizza pill and onto my stoneware, my pizza stone. And then I'll come back in 8 minutes. After the, well, I'm going to bake it at 500 for 8 minutes, and then I'm going to turn it to broil and cook it for another minute to really kind of crisp things up on top. So I'll come back in about 9 minutes and show you how it went. Well, here it is. This is the finished project. It looks like I need to work on my dough shaping skills. I had planned to have an actual crust here, but it looks pretty splendid. And look at that, boy. The tomato juice, or the, oh man, this is going to be good, I hope. But you never know until you cut into it and try a slice. Okay, so just spin out. Let's just see what it looks like on the inside. Oh wow, that looks really amazing. I was burning my hand, so I had to drop it. But yeah, you can see like the crust right here. Looks nice, and looks like it's got a pretty decent crumb. The toppings are dripping over it, so it's hard to see, but if you look over here, you can see there's a nice crumb going. So anyway, that's my first try at this, and I would say apart from my pizza shaping skills, it doesn't look half bad. Next time I think need to work on my pizza shaping a little bit so I get more of a crust. I had wanted to put some garlic butter around on the crust, but there's not enough room to do that. Oh well, c'est la vie. I think I'm still going to enjoy it. So, all right, that's how you do it. If you have better pizza shaping skills, then you'll do better than I did.